All right.
Tibor,
Hello,
great
Kamil.
to see you again,
Great to see you
as
again.
usual, every week. I think today we will be talking about stress and basically the impact of stress and everything, how stress actually impacts our body. So I think this is quite an interesting topic, especially because we spoke about meditation last week and very good benefits of meditation, but meditation we are trying to use mostly to kind of offset the stress we are creating in a normal life. So I think just to describe stress and its impact and its massive implication on our life, I think will be very beneficial for the people. So let's start with stress. How do you see stress? How would you describe stress yourself? Yeah.
Well, stress is anything which bothers our mind, basically, and mainly it's the mind. But we have three types of stress, as these days they say. So you can have a mental stress, a physical stress, or then you have the chemical stress, which is more happening something in the chemical process with all the
Yes.
bits and pieces. But what is the most two common stresses and which we can understand, and I think we can deal with it, is that mental stress and the physical stress. Okay, so the mental stress is basically anything on our head, what bothers us, what we're thinking about. You can put anxiety, depression. These are all kind of stresses which affect our body. And then the physical stress can be any injury, any trauma, physical trauma. Even if you just over-exercise, over-work out, and then you have this kind of inflammation feeling when you're sore. It's a type of stress for the body, so the body need to react with that. They need to heal
Yes.
it, need to kick in a lot of mechanism. Your immune system is always on the go, basically,
Yeah.
to deal with that.
And then we have chemical stress as well,
Chemical stress.
which is viruses, bacteria, illnesses.
Exactly, any
So-
kind of illnesses or problems internally where all the chemical process is not working as it should, and it's much more complicated. That's something which I think personally it's more difficult to deal with. So the two first stresses, the physical and the mental stress, I think we as a human being, on an average normal person, we could deal with that.
Once we talk about this chemical stress, viruses and bacteria, I don't know whether you spotted what they've done to Wim Hof. He actually had study on his own body. He was able to suppress a virus. They literally injected virus in him. And he was able to reject it just by pure belief and pure breathing technique, where he was able to have completely different symptoms than the regular person. Why do you think that was able? How come he was able to do it? And not only him, he had another 15 students, and he was able to achieve that within 4 days of training, of someone who never done his training, came on his training, and after 4 days, when that student was injected with virus, he was also able to almost, basically didn't have the symptoms which would normal person get if he would be injected by virus. What do you think? What happened there?
Again, it's the thought, it's the mind. When you condition your mind, and obviously he was able to do it because of his training. So he trained, and other people train as well, although they train much shorter. But under his guidance, basically, it's you can do it. I think the mind is a very powerful thing, but it has a double-edged weapon. So the mind can push you forward, can heal you, but it can destroy you as well. So as he was telling in a couple of videos, that he already kind of knew about the virus. I think it was the E. coli or something like that. Something like that.
Something like that.
As he was injected, he kind of guided his mind and his breathing and his mind, his thoughts, to stop that virus, basically, and do not let it spread it through the body. But for this thing, you need to have a bit of training. It's I don't think that it can happen just, I'm not gonna get cold. So your mind, your intention must go there, and you need to fight with that. And again, as we talked last time, where your mind and intention goes, everything else follows. And this is one of the base for Chinese medicine. just a meditation which we're talking about?
I find this incredibly useful and helpful when this is true, because we're literally, in that case, we can bring a lot of positive changes into our life just by visualizing, just by thinking about positive impact or positive outcome, even just by visualizing something positive in a but before we go into this, let's just describe stress and what is happening in the body when the stress occurs. What actually is happening? So let's say when body is in a stress mode, if we go from stages, what is actually happening kind of biomechanically or sorry, not biomechanically,
Biologically.
biology, yeah, in terms of biology or in terms of kind of processes which are happening in terms of hormones and so on. Would you be able to describe a little bit what is happening when we are in a stress mode?
It can be quite a lot of conversation, quite a long conversation about it. But one of the most important things, the stress switch off your immune system, or kind of chip it a little bit. And the immune system is important. The immune system fight with everything in your body, So if immune system is not kicked in, then your body is in a kind of stress mode, not healing mode.
Yes.
And you need that. You need that basically. So this is one of the main thing.
And also, I think another thing is that when we are stressed, we're not dealing very well with a lot of other things. For example, digestion either. So we got immune system suppressed, digestion is suppressed. So when we actually ingest food, I think the digestion is not really working properly because the stress is taking really priority, because it's kind of fight and flight, right? And
exactly.
when we are in fight and flight, it's more focus is going into our limbs because we need to run, we need to fight. So digestion and the immune system is suppressed.
Yeah.
Reproduction also. Reproduction, that's another thing. When people are stressed and they can't have baby, it's often because they're so stressed during the day, and then they are surprised that they can't have baby. That's one of the reasons, is that the body is not really healing or is not really focusing on reproduction when you're stressed. But because again, fight and flight will always take the priority. That's the most primitive, most urgent focus if we are stressed. So I think those three things: reproduction, digestive system, immune system, all these things are suppressed, and that is, I think, very important point there.
Yeah, and the other thing is, it's well known these days that if your digestion is not working properly, which again can be affected by stress, and the digestion can affect the stress as well. So it's a kind of circle, never-ending circle.
Yes.
Okay, so it's the stress, digestion, but it can always interchange. The bacteria, the bacteria in the guts, basically, the good bacteria, it's closely connected to your mind. So if your bacteria in your digestion, or your digestion is not working as it should because of leaky guts, or I don't know, or some autoimmune disease, celiac, or things like that, it affects your thinking. So you can't think clearly, you're getting into that anxiety, the depression, and it is linked. It's the science these days, we know it for sure, that keeping a good health, digestive health, or the health in your digestion, your guts, it's very important for your mental clearance.
Yes.
So like I said, it's connected. And let's say from a Chinese medicine point of view, the digestion, and not only from Chinese medicine point of view, but digestion is the main source of your energy. So anything what you breathe in, what you eat, what you drink, that's going to give you the energy so you can function through the day. And that's where, let's say, the diet is so important, comes in. Lifestyle, what you make, what you eat, when you eat, what type of food you eat. We can see there is more and more people born with allergies, more and more diabetes, more and more obesity coming up. And it's all about digestion, what we put in.
I know.
Air pollution as well.
Yes, it is. And also, I heard from so many different philosophers, even in the past, even I think old Greek philosophers, I think one of them said that, your health is basically based on your gut health. How good is your gut health is your health. That's where all the bacteria, everything is happening there.
That's right.
If this is not healthy, you're not healthy. So gut is incredibly important. I will try to run us through a little bit what is happening in the body, because I made a small notes. So when we are in a stress mode, what we do, our body try to burn fuel from glucose. So we're trying to get fuel from glucose, from sugars, basically, from carbohydrates. When that happens, we are losing ability to start burning fat, which obviously the problem of that is because we are producing the stress hormones, okay? When we're not using fat for a source and we're constantly using sugars or the glucose, what happens, we start to create high adrenaline. Okay, often when we are in stress mode, we are in high adrenaline mode, and that creates inflammation. So now we are in inflammation state, and our body, if we are in inflammation for a long time, it starts to create degenerative diseases.
That's right.
If that happens, if the body needs, so then like our body after that is trying to dampen this inflammation, you know, and especially in a long time, if we are in stress for a long time or very often, and the body is trying to dampen inflammation for years and years, we also starting to be in a kind of elevated cortisol state. So now we have elevated cortisol, and when the cortisol is elevated, our metabolism slow down. Now this is a problem, because when the metabolism slow down and you eat as you were eating before, you start to put on weight. You start to put on weight, and you are probably seeing yourself, oh my God, the clothes are getting tight. And you probably first ask, or what most people do is probably, okay, I need to go on a diet. I need to go on a diet. I need to do something about it because I'm obviously putting on weight. But the problem with that is you had already slow metabolism. When you go on a diet, what you do, you're basically eating even less. So you're confirming to your body that you are in famine. You are basically confirming that you are starving yourself, and your body slowed your metabolism down even further. So it's a vicious circle.
It is.
And that is a problem. So the stress has enormous impact on so many things. I'm not even talking about emotional states. This is purely physiological states, what is happening in the body. So I just very quickly repeat it because I think this is very important. When we are in stress mode, we are using glucose, which is sugars, for fuel. And we're not using fat. When we are in stress mode and we use glucose, that will elevate adrenaline, okay, which causes inflammation. When we've got inflammation for a very long time, we can get some degenerative diseases. And when the body tries to dampen this inflammation over the years and years, we have very often elevated cortisol. Elevated cortisol for a long time will bring your metabolism down, so slows down your metabolism, and your body think that you are going through the famine. If that's the case, you're starting to put on weight, and when you start put on weight, you probably want to go on diet. When you go on diet, it just confirms your body that you are starving even more, so your metabolism slow down even further. So this is the process, and this is the danger of stress from the point of physiologically, you know, and how you are putting on weight and how stressed you are because of that, and what hormones are appearing. As you can see, there's hormone cortisol, adrenaline, and there is definitely something to do with insulin as well. Often we create insulin resistance because insulin comes in when there's too much sugar always inside our body, so it's trying to decrease the sugar levels in our blood.
That's right.
Would you add anything to it? Anything?
As I said, this is quite a deep topic to go in, and maybe some biologists could describe it even better. But what you said, it's all true, and I would add that again, this fuels again the emotional or the psychological thing.
And that's where I wanted to get it with you.
In any point, basically, if you look at yourself and you suddenly start putting weight on, you're gonna be like, oh, how the people gonna look at me? I'm looking much more bigger now.
Oh, you are not happy either.
That's it. You're not happy. The one thing, but I think even which is more in these days, which is worst, it's that you thinking how other people look at you, and this is a big problem in our society here, and it's with everything. If you don't have new shoes, or if you don't change your phone often, or I don't know. If just you don't look apart, or if you don't go for that holiday where other people go, you think like, oh, what the people gonna think about me? So in this material world, this is a big thing which create another stress on you, and this stress can again affect your digestion. So it's all connected, interconnected.
It's all connected, and I want to say that this stress or this fear of what other people think of you, this fear of judgment, is probably number one fear in today's society. We don't need to be worried about the lion is gonna eat us, or tribes next door is gonna kill us. We live the whole life in peace pretty much in our countries here. So for us, we are creating stress from this type of things, like fear of judgment, what other people think of us. And that is a huge one, because it's more often. Whereas there was a lion, like you go maybe hunting and you worry about your life for a time, but you're not in constant stress like now. And these days there's so many triggers, so many things can trigger this fear of judgment, or how we look, how we talk, what did we say, what do we do say, and what is going to be reaction of people if I change this or I do this. And we worry too much about what other people think.
Exactly. Another thing is these days social media. People put pictures on Instagram which they kind of airbrush, make them beautiful, nice, this, that, slimmer, nice, and a lot of people look at it, and some people, if they are not strong enough or they don't have this kind of fighting attitude, they look at it and they feel like, oh, I don't look the same like that person, or I don't look the same as the celebrity or thing, and then they kind of close themselves deeper in, they stay home, they don't exercise, don't go out, start eating, putting weight on. So that you're right. It's basically, I think this is the biggest problem these days, that we are too much worried what other people think about us, which creates just more and more stress. The other thing which I see is we have the modern fitness industry, we have gyms, we have everything, but we don't know how to exercise properly. This is where your role or my role as instructors, coaches, come in, which is very important, because a lot of people just don't know how to exercise, and then what happens, they go into the gym, they just start doing all kind of nonsense thing, they can get injured, they feel sore all over the place, and all these things which put extra stress on the body.
I mean, physical exercise is stress on your body. It places stress on your body,
especially
when physical stress,
especially if you don't know how to do things, you do it in the wrong way. You go to the gym, first day you lift some weight, swing the kettlebell or something, you pull your back, now you're there a couple of days or maybe weeks, you're out of business, you don't go to thing, you're thinking, oh, I just got to injure myself, which is another stress that can affect maybe your work, that can affect your social life, and it's just fueling on more and more stress. Yes. And then we get basically to the level when the stress is so much every day, work, commute, business, exercise, you have so much stress that after a while it creates so much inflammation in your body, like you said, it create all these chemical reactions in your body, and then we have autoimmune diseases, then we have these illnesses. Like these days it's well known, the science says that, let's say, the heart attack is not so much how high is your cholesterol, okay, it was taught in the schools. Its main thing is that it's a kind of inflammation in the arteries, and cancer as well. It's linked too much to a lifestyle. It's autoimmune, and so there is a lot of things which we're figuring out slowly, but the stress is the biggest killer. And I think somebody very famous quoted as well, that the stress is the number one killer in modern world.
Yes, I think before we had alcohol and cigarettes was the biggest killers. Well, like we kind of perceived that in a recent only like recent history, we're talking 50 years ago, maybe 40 years ago, was the alcohol and cigarettes. Then it was sedentary life. Sedentary, like they were saying that like sitting is a new cigarette, or like when you're sitting, when you're not moving. But I think stress is definitely, today's world is probably the number one catalyst of all these bad reactions happening in our body physically.
Yes, I agree.
Because as we said, we got three stresses. We got the physical stress from injury or from accident or some kind of something happened to us, or let's say injury, then we got the chemical stress when we get either virus or some kind of bacteria or we're ill. But the constant stress what we usually get is the emotional. It's the emotional stress, and that is the one which I think we should really look at. Especially when you mentioned that by doing meditation and by visualizing good things happening in your body. You mentioned meditation where you were talking about how you're going through organs and you think about those organs when you do meditation, and you think how they're healing, how the blood flow goes through them, how this organ is nicely healing, growing, this one is, and so on. And you visualizing, and you say that there's massive connection of thoughts and the actual body.
Definitely.
So meditation is one way to offset this massive stress which we have right now in our lives. But often we create the stress. We create bigger stress than there is. Exactly. We make things look worse. We worry. So where would you see worry and fear in relation to stress?
Yeah, it's all interconnected, and for me, a lot of time these are just kind of words as we express the feelings. It's all about the feelings, but anxiety is basically the short thing. We're always thinking about, oh, this is gonna happen like that. In our head, we have million thoughts which running up and down, and actually the thoughts, that doesn't give us any extra boost or any more knowledge about certain situations. So it's always there. The anxiety is there. We always fear about something. We wake up in the morning, we're thinking, I have an important meeting, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. But it's all just our imagination.
Yes.
And then it creates more fear, and again, we go back to the stressing mode. We're trying to control something which we cannot. You cannot control when you wake up in the morning. You cannot control the underground. You cannot control if the train gonna be late. You can be there on time. You cannot control lot of things. But because these ideas fueling your head, then basically you don't have a clear vision, which you're just putting stress, more and more stress on your body.
This is bringing me to Stoicism. I don't know how much you know about Stoicism, but I've studied it a little bit, and I actually followed some of their teachings or their kind of philosophy. And like what I like about Stoicism is exactly rejecting to deal with things which you haven't got any influence over, whether it's weather, whether you're gonna catch the bus or tube, whether it's for example, even things like reputation, worrying about.
Exactly.
Reputation is correlated to what people think about you. You can't influence everyone out there who is in contact with you, whether they will like you or not. So stop worrying about it. Exactly. Be yourself, be within your own true values and your true be true to yourself and to your values and to your own beliefs and what is right and what is not. And as long as you live in line with these true values of yours, you don't need to worry what other people think, because you never can influence who is going to like you, who is not going to like you. So I like Stoicism in a way that this is their way of dealing with stress. They don't actually want to deal with things which they can't influence. They don't worry about what weather is going to be tomorrow. They don't worry about whether they're going to catch that tube or not in 5 minutes. They don't worry about what other people think of them, because it's not under their influence. They only worry about things which they can directly influence. So I definitely took that from Stoicism.
That sounds good. But again, as I said, we're living in a society or a big place like London. Probably this is completely, you would have a different quality of life if you would live somewhere in a countryside. Or if you go back couple of hundred years, we didn't have so many outside stimulus which stimulated our thoughts. These days, constantly you turn on your phone, there is some bad news, something happened, this happened, be careful with that, the financial market gonna go down, your money is not gonna be enough, there is always something going on, so your thoughts are always there. The people bombard you, or the surroundings bombard you with things which, if you're living somewhere in the countryside, or like I said, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, you didn't have this stimulus for your thoughts. So you woke up in the morning, probably you just focus on survive to do your hunting or do your gardening or gathering or whatever like that. But these days it's just too much, and that's why more and more people trying to shift and trying to look for a truth, and they kind of searching and going deeper into meditations. Yoga is very popular these days, all kind of retreats where they kind of try to clear their heads.
And I think this is very, very good thing to do. I think it's very important for us to do, whether it's meditation, whether it's retreat, whether it's go on a bike ride on your own and just really connect with the nature. Stop sometime kind of along the way when you see some beautiful scenery. Stop, be there in quiet, in silence,
enjoy
with yourself, enjoy the view, be connected, you know. So I think that's a good thing that we are now searching for this soul healing, you know, trying to find out more about who we are, trying to find out more what our true values are, why we do things, what do we do, you know, the 7 levels of why. Keep asking why you're doing this. Okay, but why, until it gets you absolute to distilled reason why you actually do things, what really motivates you and drives you, and so on. But before we go into how to deal with the stress, I would like to go into impact of stress. What does it impact? We already said what does it impact, but I have a few more things here. When we are under stress, it's usually not time to create. You know, when we stress, we don't feel like creating something. You know, create meaning music, creating art, you know, doing drawing, creation of anything. When we stress, could you create a great training program for someone when you're stressed? It suppresses. It's almost in opposition. You want to be calmer when you want to create. You want to be inspired and so on. And you can't have that with, you got either stress or you got that. So creative genes in us are suppressed. When we're stressed, it's not time to imagine. It's not time to imagine things because we're stressed, we worry. We are in fear. Again, we're not imagining it. It's usually not time to learn something new when we stress. So that's the impact of stress. We're not learning because we're worrying about the current circumstances or what people think of us. So we're not really learning. When we stress, we don't open heart. We don't open to people and start a new relationship, or, you know, we're not falling in love often when we're in stress. So that's another thing which is impact of stress. We don't grow within when we stress. You know, we worry again. So it stops you from so many things, so many useful things. So that's another thing. And usually, one of the best things, and we probably, you know, sit still, or it's good to probably go for some kind of physical activity to just break that pattern. Just get yourself out of it. But all these things like create, imagine, learn, open heart, or go within, or sit still, you know, like all these things are not happening when you're stressed. And I think that is very important to notice, that just so you understand that it is so important to decrease that stress, because all these things are so valuable to us. When we create, when we imagine, when we learn, when we open heart, when we think about who we are, and all these things are so important. And that's where the impact of stress is massive. And then now we can talk about what can we do to actually reduce that stress. What can we do in order to get more balance, basically? So you already started, you were talking about meditation. That's definitely one of them. I can also confirm that, because you are with yourself, you calm yourself down. You're following your present moment. You are with your breath, or you are going through your organs, or what type of meditation it is. you are in the present moment, and you are without distractions. Another thing I would say would be go and exercise. Ideally in nature. Try to be connected with nature.
Yeah.
Do some physical activity. Get your body moving. Get your juices moving. Get your blood flow moving. And the flow, I'm taking it from the Chinese philosophy, which you said before. It's the flow. Everything should be flowing, and exercise help flowing. Circulation and so on. You were mentioning very gentle exercise like Tai Chi, right? Or what was the other one? Jito? What was the other?
Tai Chi is that's one of the things. Then you have a Qigong, which
Qigong.
is kind of exercise. But you're right. I mean, moving it's very important. Life is constant movement. As long as we stay in one place too long, or we stop moving, stop improving, educating ourselves, then the life get obstructed, and we become rigid. We die basically. That's the easiest way to describe the things.
So we got meditation, we got movement. Next one which comes to me is sleep, and the fourth one is food.
Yeah.
All these things will improve your well-being, your health, and also because what we eat places also stress in your body, or it's healing your body, or energizing your body.
One more thing we need to add in, I think, which is very important, and then again, it's to stimulate mentally as well. So we're trying to learn something new. We always should be interested in something, reading something, or kind of try to get some new skills. It can be anything. It doesn't need to be
curiosity
that you study all your life, PhD every 4 or 5 years, something else. But it could be something, I don't know, maybe play a simple instrument, or try to understand how to make coffee, or research something, study a little bit about the tea or something like that. So you constantly giving your a bit of stimul for your kind of nice way for your brain. And these days there are games actually which there are apps which you can download, and which can kind of stimulate your brain with these games. And they said it's a big plus because it can help prevent all kind of neurological problems, and can help with the mind. So your brain is basically a muscle. It's very flexible, but if you stop training it, it becomes rigid.
Yes.
And then we have Parkinson's, Alzheimer, and all these things on the rise. So you need to physically be active, but mentally active as well.
Stimulate, yes. I've seen this old man still practicing, let's say, juggling, things like juggling or balancing. So physically he's stimulating his brain, all his reactions, or trying to catch things, and he's trying to keep himself also physically stimulated, but it's always in relation to your brain, because your brain works with your body. So you're not getting rigid. You're not getting whether it's mentally learning or physically learning things, they both very important.
Yeah. Well, we need to choose the right sources, because traveling on the tube and reading first couple of pages of the Metro Evening Standard, where it's all the negative stuff, most of the negative stuff, not gonna help you too much with your.
It stimulates your body, but in a
negative way. It's
creating stress. It's creating how world is horrible and bad. So yes, it's very important what you consume in terms of information. We covered pretty much, we described what stress causes to our body physiologically, emotionally. We discuss what impact it has on our daily life, how it suppresses certain, creativity, imagination, learning, love, kind of opening heart, and so on. And we also talk about how we can reduce stress and how we can really bring it down, and that sleep, perhaps we didn't mention much on food, and these ones have massive implication. Sleep definitely. Oh my God, that's where your body is healing the most.
Exactly.
Physically, mentally.
When we're talking about inflammation, this is one of the key thing. A lot of people, and again we go back to that circle. If you stress, most of the time it affects your sleeping. But if you don't sleep enough, if your body is not resting enough, the body can't fight with the inflammation. So it's a vicious circle.
And that's related to food as well. What type of food we eat before we go to bed? Is it gonna be a steak with alcohol, some wine, and suddenly you have to digest, so all your blood flow is there, you need to digest and you want to go sleep, you probably won't have deep and beautiful sleep because your body is dealing with this thing now with this heavy meat or let's say alcohol. So food is influencing your sleep. The stress level is influencing your sleep. So
it's a vicious circle, basically. Once you don't sleep, your body doesn't heal. If you don't heal, then after a while, you can go for quite a long way like this, but after a while, your body gonna say enough, and then we get illnesses, cancer, heart attacks.
And that's the stress on your body. We're back to that stress.
Exactly.
And same thing is, I wanted to talk about food in a way that, like, think about food. Am I energized after I eat this meal, or am I just about falling asleep because I'm so exhausted, or I ate so much carbohydrate, let's say heavy pasta? You know, am I gonna feel that I'm gonna rock the world? Am I gonna do something? Like, am I creative? Am I like full of I want to learn, or I'm alert?
That's it.
Or, you know, am I aware? Am I, you know, like, what does that food? What impact is doing it on me? Because if it's gonna put you to sleep, or you're sluggish and your energy is down, perhaps maybe that's not the good food choice for you to have. So think about it and follow the emotions and the feelings afterwards you're getting. Even emotions, food can also create emotions afterwards.
Definitely, it does.
So food, sleep, meditation, physical movement, being with nature, spend some time with nature massively helps. Oh, I knew which one I wanted to say. Laughing and fun, having in life laughing, because when you have fun and you're laughing, you are in the moment. Something make you laugh. Something you are like in an environment you're having fun, you're enjoying yourself. What does it mean? You don't think about worry, you don't stress. You are creating completely different hormones, endorphins and so on, or you know. So I think we can't forget that. We need to laugh. We need to making sure that we are having fun in life as well. And lastly, I forgot, is love. Obviously, when you are in love, you're glowing. You see you are a different person. That person is absolutely energized. You can see that the person is almost floating. You sometimes say you are on this low cloud. You are floating. You are, like we see this person is so, gratitude is another thing. That's what really helps. Being grateful for what we've got, but also love people. Think about, like what people you love, and when you are in love, you can't be in stress. It's one or the other. You are. So. But
the love again. This is one of the things that the love should come from inside you. It should be something which.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You don't just love because you expect somebody to love you back. Mm-hmm. Or this is the problem why a lot of relationships can crash down as well. When you meet somebody, it's a love. If you're living in a different planet, everything is nicer. Even if the weather is not nice, you see nice things everywhere because you have this feeling, this emotion. But after a while, this emotion can kind of fade away. And if you don't have love, if it doesn't come from inside, if it's just something which stimulates you from outside,
or we want to get it from other people,
that's it. Then it turns and it's destruction. It can distract you, can destroy you completely. So love is what Buddha is talking, or all these Eastern talks, or even Christianity, that love should come from within, and that's you're gonna attract. You're gonna attract love from outside as well.
You need to be really content with yourself, and in love with yourself.
Because if you just have a love, because it's somebody
you're seeking it to get from other people.
After a while, it becomes very addictive, and you always want to be the best. You want, and we're going back again to the thing that you're gonna be very cautious how the people see you, because you want to be loved all the time. Mm-hmm. You stop loving, but you want to be loved, and this is a big problem. So I think.
First,
this is important.
Making sure it's come from within.
And again, you need to be in that state, healthy, mentally, physically, when the love can be felt from you, basically, and then everything else gonna be attracted around you.
Fantastic. I think we pretty much covered everything. It was excellent. It's almost 40 minutes now. Is there anything as a final word and anything you would like to mention, or we didn't, or you're happy to leave it right there?
I think we just need to take it slightly easier, the life as we have. We're too much rigid. We want something. We always have these goals which we want.
We don't even know why we want them often.
Yeah,
that is the problem. So I think, asking yourself the why, the 7 whys before you actually get to the rock bottom of why, because we often chase things, we stress, we take life too seriously. That's a good point. So ask yourself why you actually stress yourself about this or about that goal or about this goal or about having that. Like,
I put it on
calm
the paper.
down and put yourself.
You showed me a couple of weeks ago that you put on the paper what is the most important in your life at the moment, this stage. This is probably gonna change the 10 years.
And that's fine.
But at the moment, and this is it. So you have the clear vision. What is the important? Where do you want to take your life? What you want to achieve, and know your capacity, what you can achieve. And this is very important, I think.
Fantastic, Tibor. Again, I really enjoyed this one.
Me too.
And I'll see you again next week.
Yeah.
Cheers,
Take
man.
care.